The wall's purpose is to let us be mindful of the people that made the ultimate sacrifice. Yeah, they are the real heroes.
I'm hoping that all generations would remember them and remember the sacrifice that they gave.
This is all about loss and cost.
Every name is a story. That's a person, that's a veteran.
It's all about them, it's not about us.
We just must not ever forget the fallen.
Guys, today we get to do something special. We get to escort 58,318 Americans home. Those folks, when we go through these towns roaring with your flags waving, are gonna know something special's happening. Tuesdays are our best days because we get to bring those heroes home, and it's only because of you guys.
People need to realize that there's over 58,000 names on this wall. And each one of those names represents a person and a person's life that was cut short.
My husband went into the military during the Vietnam War and had a lot of friends that were killed in Vietnam. So this means a lot to me, to see the will that heals come by.
These men and these women and those names on that wall. Why we're able to come out here and enjoy the sunshine and freedom, it's just overwhelming.
Anyone who's ever served knows that you give something of yourself. The oath isn't just for a day or a year or 4 years or a term, it's forever.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Why we do what we do. We carry on a lot of these traditions for those who can't carry on the traditions for themselves.
I hope today was the welcome home that you never got, and today was the parade that you didn't have. Welcome home, guys. Welcome home.
Seven, yeah. Make it look good.
All right, I need somebody to scoot on down. One of you that's standing around looking good. There's no time for modeling. Here we go. Lifting it. Come this way. All right, perfect. We're about to handle 58,318 heroes' names. All right, put yourself in the shoes of the graduates of OMA, put yourselves in the shoes of anybody who wore the uniform, put yourselves in your own shoes. For you scouts, if you lost one of your fellow scouts, you would treat them with the utmost of respect, as if it was your best friend and you were holding his hand.
This is my Eagle project. Basically what it is, just coordinating, watching the wall. Well, I visited the wall in Washington this summer. It really puts something in you when you go and you realize that every single one of those guys gave their all for this country, that they loved it.
Excellent. All right.
So you're out here for a reason, but how does it feel to have younger people out here with you too?
Oh, I think it's fantastic. I mean, get an idea for what this was about and the solemnness of it. I graduated from here in '61, and I have about 4 classmates on the wall.
Go up high. We're going to take it in as vertical as we can. All right. So hang on, guys. Let me get.
That's a lot of lives that the cycle didn't go on, and it just for the grace of God, I wasn't one of them.
Okay.
The first cadet that I officially hated was Sam Trizza. He was an upperclassman, and I just couldn't believe what I had gotten into by coming here. He was a scary guy. And then into my second year and third year, I got to know him. He was a terrific guy, and then he goes to Vietnam and was killed. And so Panel 21 was pretty important to me. I wanted to be a part of putting that panel. He was a terrific human being. His wife is too, his sons are too, and that was kind of special to handle that particular panel.
I'm playing for the 58,300 plus individuals on that wall, men and women of all the services, you know, and it was just, I started this up in Fairbanks back Memorial Day of 1996, and I was going to play the taps once, and I'm leaning against a tree, and 6 days later I was still playing, morning, night, early morning, and it just became a rhythm, it just became a flow. This is like my freedom, you know. I actually get to I play a harmonica and nobody really complains. I don't want people to see me, I want people to feel and hear the music. So I call it the sound behind the wall. It translates so much better that way. Instead of somebody saying, oh, look at this, look at that. You know, I'm just back here doing my thing.
I think because of the rain, we had a really good turnout. Of course, we couldn't do the opening ceremony at the wall, so we moved to the Centennial Center. We had a good crowd there. We had families, we had vets, so it was a good ceremony.
What I'd like to invite each of you to do, you can come up to the bell, and by you ringing it, then it lets everybody within the sound of that bell know that that person is remembered.
Sergeant Gary Neal Hall.
Bill Wilson. George McDonough.
As long as those rings ring in your ears, remember and honor those.
I've just avoided it all these years. So I said, Mom, let's just go there and go through this. It is tough if you don't deal with it, or, you know, I avoid movies, I avoid books, I avoid anything like that. And I'm not by myself, I'm sure. Then you don't have to deal with it emotionally. So that's why this becomes more emotional than you realized it would be. And I'm sure people wonder why after all these years it is. It's because many of us haven't dealt with it. We've moved on with life, we thought. How appropriate that it's raining today. How appropriate. Oklahoma's crying today.
Jan Scruggs, he had a college degree before he went into the military, and as founder of the Wall, he came back and studied what we would now call PTSD. And he realized that we could have an incredible cathartic moment if we gave someone and everyone a place to go and touch. And it was his idea of, hey, I want to go and build this. We see at the Wall That Heals service members who come back and have those magical moments to reconnect with someone that they lost 45 years ago. And it's that sorrow and sadness and even sometimes happiness that comes out and creates the healing that happens here.
A long time ago when I was in college, next door to us, a family moved in Tulsa, and their son had just been killed in Vietnam. We never met Lauren, but his family became very special to us. And even though you don't know the person, you know the relative, it has an impact. And when you think about all of the sacrifices, it touches you to the depths of your soul.
This right here brings a lot of people out to remember, to think. A lot of it's bad thoughts, some of it's good thoughts. But they're all brothers on that wall. And there's just so many.
When I was in Vietnam, I was with the Military Assistance Command of Vietnam, and we were in very small groups working with the ARVN and the Vietnamese National Guard. Today, I just felt I wanted to come back and see it since it was traveling. I'd never seen the traveling wall, and just wanted to view it and to be supportive. It's very gratifying that everybody that was killed during that war gets on this wall.
Tomorrow is the 48th anniversary of my best friend that got killed. His name was Dennis Valsic. We called him Denny. He was the guy that I always wanted to protect my back. I was in a mechanized outfit, which was armor personnel carriers, but we'd get down off the tracks and go rifting on foot. I would always walk point, and Denny would always bring up the rear. That way, he and I knew that we always knew what was going on. There was real heavy jungle, and there was trails, and the squad was going up one trail and another trail led off. Denny took a few steps up that trail alone and fire broke out. And when the commander got back there to see, there was one Vietnamese and Denny dead, and both of their weapons were gone. And I didn't sleep for 2 or 3 days after Denny got killed. Vietnam has come of age. For 40 years, we were the scourge on the American wars. And it's just been within the last 15 or so years that we have begun to get the recognition that we deserve. And these guys that died over there, you know, they need the recognition that they didn't give their life for no cause whatsoever.
Nighttime at the wall is a special time. One, it's a special time because many of the crowds don't think to even come. In that nighttime, the ones who know realize that they can have their personal somber time with the wall. For Maya Lynn's vision, she wanted you to bring something to the wall and it would be reflected back to you. Your experiences, your sorrow, your memories. That nighttime lighting brings that out tenfold and makes that magical. And it gives an opportunity for people to cry and have those tearful moments and not get caught dab in their eye. It gives them the opportunity to dream and remember. And for some of these veterans who probably stood more than one nighttime shift, it brings out the voices and the memories and the stories that they may have hidden for years.
To me, it feels like they've reached out to me and asked me to stay here overnight to watch over the wall and to make sure nothing happens or it goes wrong. It's kind of like Arlington, in my opinion, where you go and it's a ton of graves and you're dead silent. Most of the time you could hear a pin drop. This is what we want it to be like out here, as this is sort of like a grave. It's in memory to all the 58,318 guys that died overseas. And so I think they should be respected to where it's nice and solemn and quiet.
On behalf of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund, I gather you here today to take part in a special ceremony. This lapel pin was commissioned by Congress. On it, it says Vietnam War Veteran, with the background of the blue field for purity. On behalf of a grateful nation, sir, thank you very much for your service. Please accept this as a small token of our nation's appreciation for that service and sacrifice. Welcome home.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it so much. Thank you. You always yeah, thanks for that beautiful song.
I've been to this wall, I've been to the smaller one, and I've been to the one in Washington, D.C. Each time I went to each different one, it was a feeling of like I was there with them, and then, or that I knew all of them. Even though there's over 58,000 names on there, it seemed like I know them all.
During 1969, where would that start?
What's the last name?
I joined the Marine Corps in 1969, and I was there through 1971. I just think we should share our stories. I believe in this is healing. I think it is a healing time. It's been a long time since the Vietnam War, and we have a lot of people that are still hurting from it.
Walk on your knees 2 steps forward so that you can just barely touch the wall with one finger. One finger stretching your arm.
I have a lot of people in the military in my family. We have people in every branch of the military. I've had someone related to me in all of the big wars. It's just everything from patriotism to just knowing the right thing to do, to show your respects to the country for the people who have fought. I hope that they come away from this experience, if not anything that they've learned, but with questions so that we can teach them more.
Well, when you think about the red name, you go a little deeper, you think about the times that you may have trained with that individual, or you spent time with that individual in some way. Might even have been in the foxhole with him. When you think of the different emotions and you look at the names that are there, then for me, it's just a chance to say somebody knows where you are.
He was a captain at the time that he was shot down, and the military retired him first as a full colonel and then declared him dead in 1999, but they kept looking for his remains. I was 13 when he went missing. My brothers were 6 and 5. It was hard to reconcile all of that together to figure out what was going on. Basically, I just reconciled that he was dead. So it was in my mind that way for many, many years.
Everyone waits patiently for the moment the American hero lands. It's difficult to imagine what waiting 5 decades must feel like.
It was very emotional. We got to do an arrival. The fire department came out and shot water over the plane as it arrived, and then they had a military group that came on, offloaded him into the ambulance. And then we followed the ambulance to the cemetery. Claremore turned out very well. They were all excited to see that he had come home. There was a lot of people out there, a lot more than we expected. At the gravesite ceremony, all the participants from the Air Force were very reverent and honorable, and receiving the flag was like bringing Dad home, and he was home. His name's been on the wall for many, many years. It changed from a cross to a diamond is wonderful, and we're glad to have him home. It's just hard that he wasn't here with us all those years. So.
We have not only the Wall of Healing, but we also have our reunion, and we have our Oklahoma Military Academy reunion every year. We had 21 of our OMA alumni were killed in action, and they're on this wall. Where the wall is sitting used to be our drill field, and so it's very appropriate that this wall is set up here. Every one of the 21 alumni and cadets who are on this wall drilled on this very spot. So it's pretty significant.
Well, the names in the wall are number one. Every name is a story. That's a person, that's a veteran. And I call those the diamonds. These are the diamonds of this country. These guys stood up, men and women stood up for us. And so our job today is we are honoring our OMA boys. John B. Stizza, class of 1959.
The roots of serving in the military go very deep within our family. And John Vanette Stizza started all of that. And when we were married in 1960, I knew that he was going to be a career Army officer. He left January the 5th of 1970 to go to Vietnam. I was getting worried. I had not received a letter in a week or 2 weeks. John was commissioned into the Army January the 21st of 1962, and he was killed 8 years to that day, January 21st, 1970. It's emotional for us, but we just must not ever forget the fallen. They gave the supreme sacrifice, and that's just very important to us.
Michael D. Casey, class of 1966.
On January 23rd of 1970, our brother, Captain Michael Dale Casey, was killed in action in Vietnam at the age of 23. Michael's name and the name of the 20 other precious Oklahoma Military Academy cadets are on this wall. Mike had a deep, deep love and respect for his fellow warriors in Vietnam. The last time he was home, our sister said he would stand at the window looking out saying, "They are the best, they are the greatest." Speaking of those he served, Mike told his sister he wasn't afraid to die. Everybody's going to die.
You're gonna find.
It's just a matter of how and when. Mike's story is just one of the more than 68,000 names on this wall, and they all have a story to tell. Thank you for the privilege of being here and remembering our brother.
Thank you.
For me, I remember the first time that I went to a funeral for a cadet in 1968. The Academy sent one cadet to Fort Smith, Arkansas, to the National Cemetery. Our former cadet corps commander was killed in Vietnam. He was 22, I was 21. And I was at his funeral, and I actually gave the flag to his mother. And at that point, that made such a big impression on me that I thought, we cannot forget these guys.
This was a friend of mine. These three were killed in an ambush with him in Vietnam. And I served with him over there in our unit, Target Mission Force. And another individual is Danny York that went to school here. He's the last one on the OMA list that was killed in Vietnam. And I saw him the day before he was killed.
Would you like me to do a name rubbing at that point, ma'am?
My first husband, George Eisenberger, he was killed in 1965. He volunteered to go to Vietnam. He wouldn't have had to gone because he was scheduled to go to Germany. And I just thought it would be nice to see in remembrance.
The legacy of the wall is the way in which it bridges not only those who served, but those who lost someone. For each and every one of these names, to see a name, to associate a face, that impact goes far beyond your wildest imaginations and drives that home forever.
No greater glory does a man have than lay a life down. And that's what these guys all represent. There's a peace. These guys are at peace.
The wall's purpose is to let us be mindful of the people that made the ultimate sacrifice. They're the real heroes. When we forget them, we forget ourselves.